Hi, welcome to the Opinionated Security Podcast. Today we're going to talk about finding value in security programs and being able to articulate that value to executives. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Tony Gray, the guy behind the Opinionated Security blog, and I'm really excited about today's podcast topic. Today we're going to look at the value of cybersecurity programs. We're going to talk about how to conceptualize and formalize that value, and then also how to articulate it just a little bit with executives. We'll touch on that in more detail as part of the communication with executives podcast that we'll do in the future. But we'll touch on specifically the articulation part. We definitely can't fit everything into a single podcast. So if you have comments, suggestions, your own opinions, jump right into social media. If you're on YouTube, click the subscribe button. If you're on Twitter, follow me at Opinionated Security. And if you're on Medium, go ahead and follow me there. Become a fan. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Remember that anything on my blog or podcast is my opinion only and has nothing to do with either my current or any former employers that I may have. So let's talk about security in context for a moment. There are a number of different models. The one model that I'll use for this particular podcast is that enterprises are built on business processes that each have an owner. I use the term business process owner. There's thousands, if not millions, of business processes within a given organization. And the business process owners ultimately own whether or not changes get driven into the DNA of that particular business process. And an organization is the product of the sum of all the business decisions on the part of its owners. So, if you're trying to scale your security program without involving the business process owners, you're likely not going to make changes you're not going to make deep changes in the DNA of that organization as far as security is concerned. So security is kind of an interesting piece of this because security is a business process unto itself, which is mainly how it is treated within most organizations. But it's also an input to every other business process within the organization. Each of us is very familiar with business decisions. We make individual business decisions every single day, from how we choose to manage our finances to how we choose to spend our free time. Each of these are business decisions. So we can identify with these if we were to scale these up to the level of an organization. But what's important to understand is, as important as cyber is, especially to us, the cyber practitioners, cybersecurity isn't the only hard problem to solve in most organizations. There's plenty of hard problems out there around revenue and financing and mergers and acquisitions and market strategy and product decisions. There's all sorts of really smart, non-technical executives that in many cases are solving or working to solve business problems that have as much of an impact on the organization as cybersecurity does. We have to assume that executives don't have the time or knowledge to process what's important in cybersecurity or to define that value. That's our job as cyber practitioners and as cyber leaders. The other downside of not being clear about what the value of cybersecurity is sometimes you end up with some arbitrary amount of resourcing in which the organization recognizes that they have to invest something in cybersecurity, but they've just arbitrarily determined that amount is going to be X, whatever X is. And as cyber practitioners, we know normally X isn't sufficient for whatever it is that we're trying to get done. It's our job to generously provide data, context, and meaning to a definition that they agree on and we agree on. So where are some of the places we can find value in cybersecurity programs? Well, probably the biggest and most important one to executives is the value that's defined when we tie our cybersecurity program and their outcomes to strategy. For instance, if revenue is important as part of the strategy and revenue growth, it's certainly valuable to an executive to know that revenue producing activities are not being disrupted because of cybersecurity incidents. If there's value in the data that we hold, perhaps as a nonprofit, then certainly the degree to which we are able to protect that data then provides some value from an executive perspective. The second piece is really, it's a key part of our jobs as cyber practitioners, but it rarely goes explicitly stated. And there is value in the risk analysis that we as cyber practitioners provide to executives to help them and the business process owners make good decisions around cyber risk. There's also value when we can demonstrate that the investment in the cyber program has enabled an ability to respond effectively to incidents. In fact, the more proactive that we can demonstrate that these investments have made response possible, the more value we're able to show to an executive as part of the value proposition. Lastly, there's value in building out our level of maturity within the cybersecurity program, and this can be easily demonstrated to executives. For example, there's the obvious internal value of doing things like reducing your risk surface area and being able to demonstrate that as part of the story or plan that you have in place. Also in identifying additional areas that perhaps have never been covered before or discovered before. Additional risk factors, data entry and exit points that perhaps don't have the controls that are needed. And gaining a broader scope of coverage throughout the entire enterprise. If your audit committee reports cybersecurity findings to the board, these can be used to build support and reinforce the parallel messaging that the cybersecurity team has as part of its periodic board updates. But measurable value isn't just measured internally. There's also things that the program can achieve that can be measured externally and provide additional benefit to your organization. For instance, anything that increases trust with partners or customers increases the value that they see in your organization. So in summary, we've learned that cybersecurity is just one of N business process within a particular organization, but it's also a business process that touches every other business process and their owners throughout the organization. There's value in that. They do this through clear, easily digestible language for executives. And it's part of an easy to understand story. We've also learned that there are multiple ways that we can demonstrate value and articulate this value to executives. Perhaps we can tie to the organizational strategy. This is a very important way to do this. We can add key knowledge so that executives can make risk decisions based on not just their own knowledge and experience, but also the body of knowledge and experience that we bring to bear on cyber issues. That wraps up this podcast. Thanks for viewing. Remember to subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Twitter. This is Tony Gray signing off. Have a great day.